I'm Luis Scott, managing partner of Bader Scott Injury Lawyers, one of the fastest growing law firms in the country, and I'm also the co-founder of 8-Figure Firm Consulting. I've successfully built multiple companies by focusing on leadership, operations, and culture. Using these principles, my companies have generated close to $100 million in revenue. But before any of this success, I started my legal career as a receptionist, and I worked my way up to becoming managing partner. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with leaders and entrepreneurs who have had the guts to step out on their own and the courage to face adversity. They share with us their tips for achievement, the challenges they have faced, and the glory of success. I welcome you to the Guts and Glory Show. Luis Scott here, host of the Guts and Glory Show. I feature top leaders who share the obstacles and challenges of leadership, the guts it takes to succeed, and the glory of success. Today I have Jeremy Wise here, who has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs, and today we're flipping the script, and he'll be interviewing me.
Luis, thank you for having me. And today we're going to talk about 3 moments that changed your life. All right. And so I was especially excited about this episode. Before we talk about that, I want people to kind of know a little bit of your background a little bit. And this episode is brought to you by 8-Figure Firm Consulting. At 8-Figure Firm, you help law firms go to 7-8 figures. And I was talking to someone who said you spent, over 80 hours a week to make partner. After that, you finally started your own firm, and you wish you had someone walking you through these steps to growth that you've had to kind of endure. And that's probably where the guts and glory, to start any company, you have to have some guts, and there are some trials and tribulations. So people can check out 8figurefirm.com. And by the way, I know people I've talked to go, well, if you could start a law firm, and really those fundamentals apply to any company. And so I know you've, given advice and helped other types of companies too, but people can check it out if they're interested at 8figurefirm.com. So the three moments that change the trajectory of your future. Bring me back to, where do we start?
Well, I always like to start about probably there was a moment before those 3 moments that really kind of hit it off and started off for me. The first moment was an almost accident that I had. I tell people about one day I was driving down the road. I was leaving baseball practice. All I wanted to be when I was a younger person, when I was in my 20s, was a professional athlete.
So did I, by the way.
Yeah.
but it goes back to when I was 5, not even 20s.
I got you.
Keep going.
Well, no, it went back earlier than that. But, in my 20s, I had the skills and the tools, and I thought that I could make it. Unfortunately, my body didn't have the ability to withstand, the long hours and the pressure, and I got injured several times. But there was a particular day I was leaving practice, and I was going home, windows down, sunroof open, only because I had no AC in the car, not because I had a fancy car or anything like that. But I'm driving down the road 65 miles an hour, and out of the right corner of my eye, I see a dog coming out into the road. And so I immediately, all of my training went into first gear. I realized I need to hit the brakes and hit the dog, because if I swerved, there was a car coming in the other lane. I couldn't swerve. I was going to hit the dog. But what happened was, when I hit the brakes, it fishtailed my car. So I got scared. I recorrected, still went into the other lane. Oh. And as I was going in the other lane, I always say that I looked at the guy in the truck coming in my way. We locked eyes. We both realized this may be it. None of that actually happened. All I was thinking was, scary. Please don't hit me. Yeah, it was super scary. And I tell people that maybe my car flipped a couple times, but I think it was only one time. I landed in a ditch. I didn't hit anything. I was. So
the car actually flipped?
Spinned. I'm sorry. It
wow.
Spinned,
okay.
Not flipped over. Yeah. So it spinned all the way around 360, landed over my car, but I didn't hit the dog. I didn't hit the truck. I didn't get injured. Nothing happened. I was able to drive the car out of the ditch after somebody came and checked on me. But it was like that moment where I realized, man, life is so quick. Like, you could lose it at any time.
Yeah.
And I started really thinking about what I was going to do to create an impact and a significance in my life. And it's interesting because now I have my personal vision, and my personal vision is to lead a life of significance. And all of that stemmed from that time when I was 20 years old, where I almost, got into a head-on collision with another car. So that's really the moment that sets the stage for the 3 moments that I had. And that's kind of what started it all.
And you have this philosophy and talk, and you gave this to the state of the firm, and you kind of started it, I think, with the total number of years, right?
Yeah. I always tell people that, you know, if we're lucky, we have 80 years, 80 years to live a life, of which 33% of that time we'll spend sleeping, and another 30% of that time we'll spend working. And so that leaves us with very, very little time to make an impact. And that 80 years is 42 million minutes, 336 million breaths. And so every breath we take is a one breath less that we'll have. And that's if we're lucky. And
Kind of
so
scary to think
time
about,
is,
actually.
it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of morbid, but at the same time, I think it puts everything in context that our lives need to be spent doing something great for ourselves, for others, for our family. Because if you're going to spend 30% of your life working, work has a real impact in what your life is about. You know, people, they spend so much time thinking about the weekend and thinking about vacation, not realizing that if you take vacation three weeks a year, that's a very small portion. That's not even 10% of your year. If you go on the weekend, that's 2 out of 7 days. You're spending 5 days wishing it away so that you could go spend time on the weekend. Where I encourage people to do something they love, something they become so passionate about that Monday becomes the weekend. And I'm a big fan of Mondays. I'm on Sunday night, I'm ready to go to bed, wake up the next morning. I get up early at 6 o'clock, go to the gym, because I'm ready to get the day started and do what I love and the passion that I have for what I love.
Yeah. One of my friends has a t-shirt that says, "Thank God it's Monday," instead of "Thank God it's Friday."
Yes.
So that was the first moment, or one of the moments that changed the trajectory. And you realized life is precious. Fast forward, what was the next thing that kind of changed your trajectory?
So that was kind of what set the stage for these other moments actually having any meaning in my life. But what I would consider the very, very first moment that changed my life was I was in a business law class. It was part of my getting my accounting degree. It had nothing to do with accounting. It was just one of those kind of business prerequisites that you had to take. And I was in a business law class. And all my life, my parents said, "You're going to be an attorney one day because you talk a lot and you love to argue." But I never really thought that I had the smarts to do it. And frankly, we have 30 lawyers here in our law firm. And sometimes I'm around them and I'm like, man, we have some very smart lawyers. Like, even to this day, sometimes I feel, just being completely transparent, sometimes I feel like not adequate to have these conversations. We have some smart people. So I never thought I was going to be smart enough to be a lawyer. And I remember being in this business law class. There was 3 rows of seats, about 60 people in there. And the professor said, "We are going to have everyone stand up and they're going to tell us their name, what they like to do, and what they plan on getting out of the class." And I was terrified. Number 1, I didn't want to get up. Number 2, I didn't want to talk. And number 3, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Remember, all I wanted to do was play baseball. And so this was like a terrifying moment in my life. But they finally got around to me. And I stood up, and to try to take the tension away, I said a joke. I said, "My name is Luis Scott, and I love long walks on the beach and candlelit dinners." And then I just sat down. And people laughed.
And you got a few dates. No, I'm just kidding.
No. But if he was, probably thought I was a nerd or something. I don't know. It was one of those things where people laughed, and I realize now it's probably incredibly disrespectful to do that. But this judge, he didn't let me get away with it. He said, "Stand up. You didn't tell us what you're going to get out of the class." And in that moment, all I could think about was what my parents had said about being a lawyer. So I thought it would be good. It would sound really great to just say, "I want to be a lawyer." And so that's what I said. I said, "I want to be a lawyer. That's what I want to get out of the class." And then I sat down and I was like, oh my gosh, I just said that out loud. I had never said that out loud. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. But what ended up happening is that the judge, I guess, he saw my conviction, or he felt sorry for me, whichever perspective you want to take. He called me down. He said, "Mr. Scott, come here. Let me talk to you after class." He talked to me after class. He offered me a summer internship just based on that moment. Like, those 10 seconds led to him offering me a summer internship. And we're still friends today. 17 years later, we're still friends. And because of that internship, I realized that somebody believing in me was all I needed to believe in myself at that moment. And I needed to put that kind of like in the universe, and things would start happening. And so that moment is what led me to eventually getting the job that I got at my old law firm, and also to having the confidence to go to law school, because I didn't want to disappoint him. He had so much faith and belief in me. I had no choice but to go to law school at that point. So that was probably the very first defining moment after I realized that significance was something that I wanted to attain in my life.
Yeah. I want to get to the next moment, but, I want to know how you get over self-talk. People out there are thinking, well, maybe I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. There's an imposter syndrome, even with the most successful people we know. Right.
Yeah.
And you were saying that I'm not smart enough, but then you got over that and created, went on to law school, went on your own firm and all of that. How did you get over that self-talk that to just keep going, even though you're like, I'm not, I guess, good enough or whatever you were saying to yourself at the time?
I don't know if this is going to be comforting or if this is going to be, if it's going to lead somebody to more depression, but I don't know if you ever get over it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever get over the imposter syndrome. I don't know if you ever get over feeling good enough or that you are smart enough or attractive enough or good enough. I think what happens is that you start accepting who you are and creating new opportunities for yourself. I recently heard a quote from Tony Robbins, and he said that being confident is not a feeling, it's an action. Even when you're not feeling confident, act confidently, and people won't know. I don't know how many people tell me, man, you are so confident when you walk in the room. I'm like, really? Because I did not want to talk to anybody. I was terrified sitting on the wall, just like hoping nobody says anything to me. But I never act that way. I always try to act the way that I want people to perceive me. And, they say fake it till you make it. I don't know if that necessarily works, but you definitely want to
it's a practice.
Sense of confidence.
Yeah, it's a practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a practice, and it's something that you have to really work on. And yes, there are going to be some things that you're going to become more confident on for sure. Like I'm more confident walking into my firm today than I was 2 years ago, or when we had just started getting this thing off the ground and we had 20 employees. I'm much more confident today with 150 employees, but I still come every day with this sense of, I don't know what's next. And I'm not confident that I can lead us there, but I'm going to continue to act confident. And I'm a big reader also, so I read a lot. And I think that's a huge skill that people need to develop.
So the first moment, is sometimes you just have to kind of put yourself out there and really interesting things happen and spiral. What was the next moment?
The next moment is actually the day I met my business partner. And I didn't know I was meeting my business partner the day that I met him. I was going to a networking event and not feeling super confident, but trying to act confident. I was walking around talking to some people. We finally got to a table, which is where I wanted to be because I did not like being in the open field. I felt like I was like exposed in the open field, but in the table, everybody's confined to the table. So you have no choice but to talk to those people, and they're much more open. You don't have to like look for, opening conversations. And so I go to the table. There was one seat next to me that was empty. And he came in fashionably late. And if you know him, he's notorious for coming in fashionably late to things. He comes in, he sits down, he extends his hand out and he says, hey, Seth Bader, Seth Bader. And I was like, oh, Seth Bader. Like, I know this guy, and it was weird because like it took a second for me for it to resonate. Not only do I know this guy, but he's like a competitor at the time. I was at a different firm. And the reason that was the moment that changed my life is because I didn't realize that just befriending, we became friends before we became business partners. I had no intention to working with him. I had no desire to work with him. I was a partner of my other firm. I was not in any way trying to develop a relationship for business purposes. I was not trying to get any gain. And the reason that was a moment that changed my life is because I realized if you just strive to build relationships, like authentic relationships with people, those relationships will eventually take you other places, whether it's to new people, new financial places. And I think a lot of times people, they go into the relationship with an ulterior motive. They go into the relationship saying, what can I get out of this relationship? Instead of what can I give to this relationship? And it was that moment that I realized that giving to the relationship was what I needed to do. And it went back to the car accident. The way I build a life of significance is by giving, and giving to a relationship without an ulterior motive. So one was, really exclaiming what I wanted to do and overcoming that fear. Number two was developing relationships with no ulterior motives. And that was the second moment that really has changed my life.
Yeah, I love that, Luis. And thanks for that reminder, because I think, in anyone's life, relationships are the most important. I don't care if it's health, wealth, whatever it is. And giving it without expecting something in return is amazing. And it's sometimes hard to grasp. It's hard to hold on to. It's hard to do because we always have these wants or desires in general in life. So I love that going in, just focusing on giving and nothing else. And good things, when we focus on giving, good things happen. So what was the next moment after that?
So the third moment that really changed my life is I worked for a law firm for 14 and a half years. And, I thought I was going to retire there. I thought, I had heard in college that the average person has 12 jobs. And I said, you know what? I'm way ahead of the curve. I'm not going to have 12 jobs. I'm going to have one job. It was really the only job I had ever had. It was the only professional job. I had worked there since my junior year of college, all the way until I was 35 years old. And so it was the only thing that I knew. And I thought I was going to work there forever. But I remember walking in on a cold January day. My two other partners called me to the office, and they had documents. They were dissolution documents. They handed them to me, and it was, we're going to dissolve the partnership within 30 days. And
wow.
I didn't have any warning. Right now, I will say that I could sense that there was a misalignment in our values and in our goals and so forth. I wanted to grow a big business, and I wanted to be the leader of that big business. I did not want to be a lawyer. I talk about this a lot, that I don't identify as a lawyer. I identify as a businessman. And so there was a misalignment because they were lawyers first and business people second. And they liked trying cases and doing those things. They were excellent litigators. They were great litigators, great lawyers. I have nothing but, I learned so much from them. I learned a lot about life. They gave me my first opportunity. I'm very thankful for them, but we were just misaligned, and that's okay. That's totally okay. But for my heart, it hurt because I wanted to be there forever. And what I realized in that moment was that I had a lot more courage than I ever thought I could have. I left that day in January, and a month later, I went 2 weeks I spent on the couch doing nothing, just
eating ice cream,
crying about eating ice cream. But after those 2 weeks, my dad called me. He says, "Look, what God has for you, He has for you. And if it's not at that firm, it's going to be somewhere else doing something else." And I got up that day, and I made the decision. I'm going to start my own law firm. And I started my own law firm. Within 4 or 5 months, I had 100 clients. I had 6 employees within a 4 or 5 month period of time.
Jeez.
And now today, I've partnered with Seth, and we have an organization with 150 employees, and we're in 5 cities around the state, and voted one of the fastest growing law firms in the state of Georgia. And that couldn't have happened if I wouldn't have had the courage to go out and do something. And so I thank them for pushing me into my destiny, and that was the moment that really made me realize that courage is all you need. And courage is not a feeling, it's an act, it's a behavior. And just like getting over your lack of confidence. And so those are the 3 moments when I think about what really changed my life. It was that moment of exclaiming what I wanted. It was that moment of building relationships without ulterior motives. And then it was that last moment of having the courage to do something that I know was going to take me into my destiny. Completely changed my life. And so that's my story.
Lisa, I love that story. I love hearing it. It's really, for me, and hopefully people listening, motivating, because it's like when life kicks you, it could be the biggest opportunity you could have. Right. And so instead we could have view it as like, oh, that's the worst thing that's happened in my life. Because you could have easily viewed it that way and then kept that mentality, but it turned out to be the biggest opportunity.
Well, and the thing is that I never wanted to burn bridges, and, I haven't talked to them in many years. But to this day, I am so thankful for those 14 and a half years. Like, why ruin that by going out in a firestorm and acting like a complete idiot, about it. And I think some people, they take the wrong approach. They're upset about it. They're angry about it, not realizing it could be the greatest opportunity you've ever had. Yeah. And that's how I viewed it. And so I'm so thankful that it happened, and that the things in my life, the moments in my life have happened the way they have, because it's really led me to who I am today.
Yeah. So first of all, Luis, before we wrap up, I have one last question.
Okay.
But I want to point people towards your show, the Guts and Glory
Okay.
show, and check out
Yes.
more episodes. And I want to point people towards the 8figurefirm.com.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know who would want a person like you, who has their back in their company. But, I want to finalize this with, you are humble, but you take the advice, and we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And your dad's been a big influence on you. I'd wonder some of the best advice that your dad has given you on this journey.
Oh man, he has been an incredible influence on me. I always say, as he gets older, I know that his time is coming, right? I hope that God gives him 30 more years, but I know his time is coming as he gets older. And what I told him and my mom actually the other day, I said, I just want you to know, if anything ever happens to you, I want you to know that your life mission has been accomplished. Your life mission, because you have helped so many people and you've inspired so many people. And even if you only inspired me, this is what I told my mom, even if you only inspired me, just know that I will lead a life of significance in your name, and I will never let that go. So, but one of the things that he's always told me that I still remember from my college days playing baseball was to smell the grass. Because I would go out to the field and I'd be so upset. I cannot believe I got injured again. I cannot believe I lost my speed. I cannot believe I'm not getting to start every single game because I should be starting every single game. And he said, just smell that. Smell the grass. And I'm like, okay, it smells like fresh cut grass. What do you want me to do? And he would tell me, he says, smell that, because one day you will not be able to play this game. One day you will not be able to enjoy this moment of being on this team with these people, doing the thing you love. And now I look back 20 years and I'm like, my gosh, he was so right. Like, enjoy the moment today. Enjoy the moment today, because you don't know when it's going to be taken away from you, that opportunity. And it reminds me of my favorite show, The Office. There's a character on there, Andy.
Show too. Yeah.
And in the final season, Andy says, what if today was really the good old days? We always talk about the good old days. What if today was the good old days? Like, are we living that way? And so that was probably, he's told me a million things. I could go on forever, but that's the one that resonates with me. Like, just always, I'm always thinking about, just enjoy today, the moment today. Just enjoy that. Yeah. And I
think that in book titles, and I think that's your bestseller, Smell the Grass.
Yeah.
So, Luis,
I appreciate that.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me. Everyone, check out more episodes of the show. Check out 8-Figure Firm, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Guts and Glory Show with Luis Scott. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to share. For more information on this episode, please see the show notes at www.gutsandgloryshow.com. And join us next time as we talk to another leader in business that had the guts to overcome all odds for the glory of success.